Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Zwift Community Live broadcast of the Zwift Racing League, brought to you by WTRL. We are in with season 2022-23, round 3, race number 2, and we are in for your TTT today. It's the Team Time Trial. We'll be covering the America's East Women's A1 Division. Dave, this has been a lot of fun to hype this up, and it's been a lot of fun to watch what's happened so far because we've got some new hitters that have been showing up last week to challenge what we initially said it was going to be these Team Riot versus Team 2024, which did show up, but we've also had some new stars starting to rise to the top of women's esports.
Yeah, I have to agree, Nathan. One thing I'm going to be interested in, because I think the advantage falls to the established teams today with the team time trial format, because this is something that if you haven't done it before, very steep learning curve. Now, that's where I look at teams like Virginia Blue Ridge 26. Well, it's funny. That's a great example. I said 2016. That's actually, it goes back to 2012, even before that, but we're into the 2024 edition. I'm dating myself a little bit, but that shows you how much experience they have as well. And it's really, really going to pay off out here today. This is a purist team time trial course. So there's the racers, there's the season, but the course is featured today, Nathan, as well. Magnificent 8.
Yeah, Magnificent 8. It is going to be 28.6 kilometers, 17.8 miles. It's an interesting one. It goes right from the Pens of Watopia on over toward the volcano. Then goes along the ocean side and a little bit of a climb into the Italian village. They do take on then that climb that you see there that is the Watopia KOM reverse. They head on over toward the Fuego Flats. They finish up Fuego Flats in that expansion section of the world of Watopia. Head on over toward Ocean Boulevard to do the reverse of the underground water tunnel. And then leaving the tunnel, head on over toward the finish line. We have seen quite a few teams do their last-ditch effort earlier this morning, Dave, in the EMEA. A couple of riders throwing their kamikaze efforts. Riders just barely hanging on over that little bump out of that underwater. But it's been a very interesting, very, as you said this morning, Dave, a purist TT course, really.
Yeah, and Nathan, you nailed it. It's been all hands on deck, like a Viking ship. We've all got to be rowing together out here. And it's going to come down to, I think, less than 5 seconds to separate first and second out here, Nathan. So Optimum is the name of the team. I've said that in a very strange way. Optimum is the name of the team racing out of Canada. Nathan, they may have more experience than I know about in this team time trial discipline, but this will be a huge test. And I'm wondering, what is your thought? Can you come into this one and do the speed course and just get yourself up to competitive as quickly as they need to out here? Can you learn how to do this in just a few attempts?
Optimum is the big question of the day.
Yeah.
Really? That's really, there's a lot of questions to be answered here on my radar right now. I've got ATP Stingers. I've got Riot. I've got obviously 2024. We've got Absquay Finesse. These are the big names from as far as the teams go. OTR Cinderellas, that's another one. Be on the watch out for them. They've got Bishop on their team. She's a monster when it comes to FTP, as well as her husband. Raced against him in West, and you send him off the front or her off the front, the game is over. So those are some names, but then those are all familiar names for us.
How about Monolith Keller, Nathan, by the way, with Aeonian today?
Good call. The Dynamos are here as well. So, wow, right. What a stacked field when it comes to Americas. It's absolutely amazing. So let's go ahead. I'm going to show you a replay real quickly. It doesn't now. Why is this? Why am I showing a replay though in a TTT? Because what I saw for the last about 7 minutes is this, Dave. When it comes to 2024, nonstop 5.5 watts, 5.6 watts per kilogram. The first to go out, the current leaders of the series, Kristen Kolchinski, nonstop 182 beats per minute. And I don't think she left the front of this team for all the way until they hit the almost Italian village. When they went along the ocean, I think was the only time she took a rest from that. So Kolchinski obviously having a bone to pick this week and is leading and charging this like a solo. Just a solo TT Ryder just polling everyone. This reminds me of a Tony Martin on the front of the Tour de France pulling the team back in for a sprint finish. This is insane right now, Dave.
Yeah, this really speaks to how talented Kristen Kolchinski is. If you didn't know her backstory, you would think this doesn't seem possible. Well, this woman has done the work. She is a machine out here today. Nathan, this is going to be not double, but triple poles that Kolchinski, and this is where I'm so impressed, is that what Kristen is doing here is keeping the team together. She's not clearly she's one of the strongest riders in the world, but she's not using that and letting her ego blow the team up. She's just riding like a human motorcycle out here today. I mean, but a motorcycle that knows how fast the fastest it can go is the fastest that the team can sustain. This is great to see Marlies Mejias here. She's the Cuban sprinter that has really stepped up her esport game, and I'm super, super impressed by this squad. They're going to be tough to beat tonight, Nathan. Really tough to beat. Not saying it's impossible, but they're putting together a command performance.
I believe that Mayhees is replacing on here tonight. We've got Lawson, looks like Marin, Laura, Nicole, Alana, and Kristen is what we were given, but she is a surprise jump back in here. So it's great to see her jumping back in. I do believe it will be Nicole that I believe that she's going to be taking the spot. No, Nicole's there actually. Yeah, thank you very much. It is Marin. You're correct. Well, I'm seeing Marin Lawson actually on here as well. So interesting enough.
Then it must be Melissa.
It is Melissa. Yeah. Yep, it is Melissa. Thank you very much. There we go. So it is going to be Melissa that's on the replace there. So we'll have to see. We'll have to get a little bit of an update on that for next week, depending on who the roster is. But great to see that she's back in here. Now that is going to be one of the riders, though. She is more of a pure sprinter, Dave. That's for sure. When it does come to the world of in life, I mean, she wins time and time again. If you're out there commentating any crit race, I would think, Dave.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Talking about Mejias. Now, this is where Kolchinski really has to just rein it in. Now, she can go up the climb faster than she is. She understands that we all know that. And what she's doing is setting a pace that the team can manage. And they aren't looking like they're going to lose one rider here. Nathan, shout out to Nikki Cranmer, to tell you the truth. The fact that this team shows up with 6 today and that they have replacement riders ready to go and they're able to make these adjustments speaks to the reinforcement that they've done with this squad. So that's huge that they are showing up with 6, because it makes a big difference on a day like today. We talked a lot about that during the racing this afternoon, and the fact that if you're down one rider, or some teams even starting with just 4, meaning that you've got no margin for error at all, as the time will be taken off of your 4th rider's front wheel out here. There's no exceptions made for that. So this is critical. This is now, so unfortunately they're going to lose one rider, but do you feel the difference in the way Kolchinski is riding, Nathan? It's not that she is stronger, to tell you the truth, than she's ever been. There's no doubt about that. I don't know if the word is mature, but and maybe it's not even mature. It's just straight up smarter, the way she's racing this year versus last year.
Yeah, there is a little bit more of a temperament, I think, to the riding when it does come to the team tactics, as well as being smarter about the whens, wheres, and hows to use that energy. From what I've seen in the past from Kolchinski, is someone who maybe gets a little bit excited with the talent that she does have, and then just pushes a little bit too much energy. You may be a superwoman, but there is a kryptonite, and you might be your own sometimes. That is the reality.
Hey, that's a good way to put it.
Kolchinski now pushing.
Greatest strength can be your greatest weakness, right, Nathan? And that's something you have to work on.
Yeah, 100%. Now, the interesting thing for me here, Dave, don't count Riot out tonight. Take a look at this, Dave. They are at 58 seconds right now. Now, maybe on the climb might be the section. Now, look, though, we are getting a little bit of separation out here. There's going to be Kuntz there. Christy Tracy is there. Smith, Rathwell, Jennifer Beal, and Anna Russell. I thought we were going to be seeing a Courtney Nelson out here, so it looks like no go with the Courtney Nelson being thrown into the mix out here today. But they do have 6, and I do believe Christy Tracy taking that spot. Great to see her back out here in racing. And coming back from a lot of injuries, Dave, it's great to see her riding the bike at such a high level after all this.
Nathan, you're going to have to help me. I don't know. We've never, in our many years of commentating together, talked about zombies. What is the zombie show? The Living Dead. That's basically who Christy Tracy is to me. She's had in the time that we've known her, she's had two really heavy accidents that she's had to recover from. She's an amazing woman down there in Texas, and like the zombie, just can't kill her. She's back and she's running with this team. This is an incredible squad. We've been talking about 2024 a lot. Well, this is their arch nemesis. You know, Nathan, so much going on. This is the second race of this third race of the season. This is the ninth season, but this is a battle that we're highlighting. And part of the reason why is the quality of all of the teams out here, not just Riot, not just 2024. I was talking about Aeonian having Monolith Keller back. ATP has got a monster lineup, and we'll be jumping in with all of those teams. But this is the second race, and coming into this one now, this is one that I would have to think you can't look forward in the season, but 2024 had to be thinking this is a 20-pointer for us. We've got to win this one.
Yeah, and interesting enough, though, Dave, Riot might be giving them a little bit of a run for their money here at this point because they're right on their heels at 101 right now. We'll start getting some time splits coming in pretty soon here, but they are holding it at 1 minute. And I think the truth is that 2024 have a really good, very, very good point hunters. They've got a really strong, though, TTT and Kolchinsky, but I'm not sure that, and a lot of Brady. I throw a lot of Brady in there as well, but I have a feeling there may be, we'll see. The challenge here might be that there's depth across the entirety of Riot that might not hit the Kolchinsky level, but might be enough to challenge.
I couldn't agree more, Nathan. I think that today is just a tremendous example. So Kolchinsky has this unbelievable fine line that she has to walk. She needs to have the ride of her life, but without she's going to keep this right on the red line without blowing up the team out here, because she's going to ride like it's honestly like having 2.5 women of the highest quality on your team when you've got Kristen. She'll take double pulls, even more than that. But your assessment of Riot having the even distribution of the quality and ability on that team, typically that's the recipe for success. And if you've been a purist following this sport, you would say, yeah, one rider doesn't win a team time trial for you. It just really doesn't work that way. And I would say you're 100% correct. But I think today we might have a really good example of how one rider on an incredibly good day can help motivate the team. There's the mental aspect of it as well. But Nathan, let's jump in now, because this Jersey's son that we're going to get to learn, you found Optimum out there. We'll hopefully get a look at the splits, ATP as well. I can't wait, because it looks like ATP is flat out flying today.
It does look like they're flying. They have brought back some time on Optimum. Optimum have had to drop one rider when it comes to the KOM. So the Queen of the Mountain dropping putting a little bit of pressure on everybody here. Real quickly, I do want to highlight the times difference between 2024 and Riot, as well as Optimum, over the top of these Queen of the Mountain so far. It is about a 6-second difference for what Optimum pulled over the top there compared to what we just saw there from 2024. 2024 and Riot, there was a half a second difference between the two of them. So a half a second difference is nothing when it comes to Riot in 2024 at this point.
Agreed. That's virtually deadly. So would you agree with me, Nathan? Optimum has stepped up and they've taken the challenge squarely on the head, and they are absolutely thrilling to have them in the mix here. I have to say that Optimum's answered the questions here in the early going, because the course is extremely challenging in the first third, and they've already negotiated that. So huge start for Optimum.
Yeah, big deal. Huge deal there actually coming in for Optimum. Now let's go ahead and jump in with ATP, though. This is going to be ATP. We've got Kate, Megan, Allie, Rachel, and Sonia all in here with us. It's really great to see these riders. Now, Dave, real quickly, to give an idea of where they stand here, we'll get back in with the team here in just a second. Let's go ahead and take a look at the leaderboards to give everybody an idea as we hype all this up. But where are the standings at this point as we come into race number 2?
Great. Thanks, Nathan. And we'll work through this quickly here. What an exciting evening. Thank you so much for joining us here on Zwift Community Live. So, Virginia Blue Ridge 2024 had a really great start to the season. Last week, they took the full allotment of 20 points allocated to our winner. Second place going to Riot. Third place, we've talked about coming out of the woodwork and the talented Velo Optimum CC. This is a team out of Quebec, Canada. Talent and motivation seems to be very high. You can see some established squads here. ATP Racing Stingers, they're sitting in fourth, and Aeonian Dynamis. Sorry there. That's a new one for me from Aeonian. Aeonian, not new. They're one of the gold standard teams in ZRL and have been for quite a while. So ATP in fourth, Aeonian in fifth, OTR, the Cinderellas sitting there in sixth. This shows you how incredibly competitive these women all benefit greatly from getting to race against each other out here. AF, Absque Finesse, that's the Solstice sitting in seventh right now. L'Ecole Wonder Women in eighth, and then Royal City, that's Guelph in Canada, right near Toronto. Royal City East. That's your top 9 teams after last week. There's not a weak link in that chain. So it's just really, really exciting to see the quality that we have racing here in America's East.
Yeah, and a little bit of info sent over on, for ATP, just as a heads up there, Dave, and we'll jump right on back in with them. Really want to feature this team here because they obviously, with what we see with those standings, they've been putting in the work. They're sitting in fourth place just off the podium and would be on the podium if there wasn't suddenly this Optimum in the middle of the conversation. Where did they come from? But ATP Racing Stingers here trying to get things together, chasing down Optimum. It does look like they're most likely going to have a better time, as Optimum only 50 seconds up from them currently, meaning that they have pulled back 10 seconds from the 1 minute gap that you are given in a team time trial. Have they lost one rider? They have. Kate has been dropped off from this main group here, and Lieberman seems to be the engine at the front a lot of the time.
Yeah, she's been a one-woman wrecking crew. I'm so happy to see ATP here and throwing haymakers today. So when you look at it now, Rachel Lieberman's got the New Zealander Sonia Foote, another big talent on this team. That's Sonia all the way over there on the right. I love the teams participating and helping us tell their story as well. It looks like Allie must have done that. I'm going to say that that's Unbound, that she's finishing there in that photo, Nathan, using the clues Allie Bronston that I'm talking about. It kind of looks a little like Leadville in the background. It's definitely a lifetime event. Either way, what a star. And then Megan Flotazone is the other rider on this team. They very well, Nathan, every now and then you have 2 dogs fighting for a bone and a third one comes and takes it. That very well could be ATP out here. This is a high quality, high caliber team, but a bit of a tough moment right now. Let's see how they manage this, because all the teams are going to go through this multiple times today. How quickly you recover, and it looks to me like they're doing a tremendous job at getting the ducks back in a row here.
Yeah, and I'm taking a look here. Allie, I do believe, Dave, racing gravel and mountain bikes, most recent racing, #1 amateur female finisher at Unbound 200-mile, actually. So
there you go. That is Unbound that she's at the finish line of, yeah.
First overall female in the Boot 100 as 100-mile mountain bike race, obviously over in Montana. So absolutely huge results here. You know, some of these racers, Dave, you don't, it's amazing to me when I get this background information that, you know, the level that you find amongst here when they're showing up, and you start to realize, you know, we highlight, you know, 2024, we highlight Riot, amazing efforts that we're seeing from them, and just like under the surface of those results. And this, I mean, I shouldn't even say the under the surface, because the reality is ATP took second overall last round of this season. Actually, they were right there and competed right up to the last race to take it down from Riot, actually. So this is one who's in the mix, and we'll see what they can pull off here today.
Yeah, I would not bet against them. You might get good odds. ATP, Nathan, this is coming from Martin Carew. Thank you, Martin. ATP is the energy of life. It's the splitting of an ATP molecule that muscles use to fuel contraction. So there you go. That explains the name. I was wondering.
If you take exercise science, that's the first thing you learn, that the way that the muscles contract is from from ATP. And you cannot produce you get 34 ATPs per sugar. The moment you start using lactate, you only get 2 for lactate, I think it is. Maybe it's 4. Anybody who knows the Krebs cycle better than me is going to be yelling at me right now, but that's called the Krebs cycle to produce ATP, actually. And if you're a coach that's worth your salt, you know all about that, and you're the one who's yelling at anyone who thinks carbs are not good for you. Because you're like, you have to have sugar to produce ATP. So I absolutely love that they use this. And I hope that like all of them make jokes about how much sugar that they love to consume because they ride bikes. That would be even better if that's what they do in their Discord. I hope we hear some things about that.
One of my favorite things, Nathan, when I was a kid and started hanging around professional cycling was the shock of seeing professional cyclists eating spaghetti for breakfast daily during a stage race. And it really comes down to that fuel. There's no doubt about it. So, all right, ATP. This is a fun team to watch and certainly one of the highlighted squads coming out of this group. Rachel, that's the first time I've ever actually seen a picture of Rachel living in Seattle there. And another one of the great stories that I have to think that we had this really bizarre thing that happened with the pandemic. And one of the things that happened was female athletes maybe didn't realize the talent they had a chance to focus on themselves for a minute and found out that they've got some real ability. And I think that Rachel falls squarely in that group. That's Rachel Lieberman that I'm talking about here on the ATP team. They got their act together. Let's call it 29K out here today on Mag 8. They've used this course before, Magnificent 8, a couple of times in the history of the ZRL, presented by WTRL. Here's some splits coming in. Oh boy, this is going to be a dandy, folks. Riot sitting 2 seconds, so virtually tied right now between two of the top teams on planet Earth today in esports. Virginia Blue Ridge 2024 with an 18:57. It's an 18:59. They're at the second checkpoint. That was at 14K in, so right around the middle part of the race. That's Riot there. ATP racing at a 19:22. So really only 23 seconds off. It's not as bad as maybe you might look. And then fellow Optimum sitting there 1 second off of the ATP Racing Stingers time. So I do have a feeling that the experience and the horsepower that Virginia Blue Ridge and Riot have is starting to show out here. The top teams based on their placing each week. And so in this case, it's really just on the first race of the season. They start in declining order from first on down. So that's why Virginia Blue Ridge were the first out on course, and Riot we're following. Back to you, Nathan. We've got an unbelievable race going on right now.
100%. And speaking of sugar, well, the way that the ATP is going to be happening with Keller, it's Miss Cookies herself here. And Monali Keller, the Canadian, on the front of this group for the Ionian Dynamis. Be on the watch out for them, Dave. Look at this coming on through. It is a 19:35 right now. Let's see if they can pull back some time. They will be competing up against fourth place currently for those few seconds, only 3 seconds between them and Optimum right now. ATP pulling away a little bit with 13 seconds over the top of them, 10 seconds over the top of Optimum for ATP. Riot and Virginia Blue Ridge, as you were saying, are in a little bit of a postal code of their own right now. We'll see if any of that time can be brought back in the back end of this race right now, as Keller leads things out ahead of Angela Roberts, who tends to be a little bit more of their puncher out there. Nicely done though here. It's just going to be only 4 riders though right now. I think they had to drop.
Yeah.
Debbie Woods Turner is actually off the back here at this point. So it's 4 riders. That's a tough ask of the team, Dave.
It is. Katrina Weiss and Cassie Nelson are the other two that are here. Although a lot of talent distributed amongst these 4 riders, but sub-optimum situation to be in is they are right at just past the middle part. It's about 9-ish kilometers of flat through this sector here. And yeah, you can see that one rider just trailed off of the back, and that's a heartbreaker right now for this Aeonian team, but they just can't wait with the 4. They continue to press on here.
Yeah, interesting to see how this is going to play out between the 4 of them. 172, and it looks like Keller taking some extra time at the front because of that. Weiss also there as well, but Nelson now 181 beats per minute 4.6 watts per kilogram at 44 kilometers per hour. That's where it's at currently. Now let's go ahead and jump in. This is another team that I really do want to highlight out here. This is going to be the OTR Cinderellas. And this is a team that uses the La Fuega kit. I have ridden with them actually in team time trials, not the women's team, but in with their men's team actually at one of the higher levels, and always ones to be watching out for in the Americas. One of the most competitive team brands on the Rivet. And on the front now is going to be Bishop. We were talking about her earlier. She is a monster on the bike.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt, Nathan. On the Rivet, I'm wondering, I'll date myself here, it's no secret, but do you even know what the Rivet refers to in cycling? Because, I mean, this goes before, it has to be way before your time, Nathan.
Yeah, I have a feeling I have a
hunch on it.
But I want you to help me out here before I make myself look stupid.
Okay, well, yeah. Well, you just made yourself look like you're not stupid with that answer, to tell you the truth. But the Rivet was a part of the saddle, the seat back in the day. It was kind of a big slab of leather, and that Rivet was notorious. And when you're on the Rivet, that meant you're hunched over, right? And you're in, battle position on the bike. But saddles haven't had a Rivet on them for more than 50 years, I would say Brooks saddles. But so it's a real throwback term for sure. But really what it was on the Rivet is the original on the gas. That if you were on the Rivet in 1952, that would have been the same as being on the gas in 2023. Boom, there it is.
Gotcha. Very helpful, actually. Very, very helpful. And that is what it feels like to hang out with these riders, that's for sure, as they absolutely can demolish. I mean, I am always impressed whenever I was riding with OTR what kind of level that they were able to pull off, and usually come away both loving and hating the relationship with my bike after those goes. So
let me give a shot.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I shout them all out here really quick, because we love having them as part of the racing. Alexandra Watt, Cassandra Rush, Jen Moroz, Jennifer Ward, Renate Blushka, and Sarah Bishop making up the team, a mix of Canadians and Americans. So thanks for racing with us, ladies.
Yeah, and I want to just real quickly, Sarah Bishop's actually a pro triathlete. She is a 2-time 70.3 World Championship qualifier, 2022 Master National Champ for the 40K TT. So this is why I was talking about her being one of those pure time trialists. Watch out for her. Her and her husband, don't let them off the front of a race. If they do so, they can absolutely time trial away from anybody. Championship road race 10th, as well as the 6th in the TT. So she's participated as well as in the UCI Gran Fondo Worlds, which is really cool to see, and also live streamed over on Twitch. If you want to, she's probably live right now. The Spartan Bishop over on Twitch. I absolutely love it. Most of it, actually, the cool thing I'm seeing about OTR is there is 1, 2, if not 3 of them that actually stream from the ladies over on Twitch. Really cool to see. And as far as the leadership goes with this team, it is going to be Jen Moroz. She's the captain. She's also a climber, and also has some pretty amazing in real life results, actually. And she is, as far as a personality tidbit for her, she is their official data queen and is a physicist. As I see, it is actually Dr. Moroz that I'm seeing here for her.
Does it say where in Canada she is?
That is the information I am not
big
getting.
ask.
Yeah, that's information I've got. She's first place female and KOM winner at PTO Edmonton of the 25K triathlon. 4th place at the ITU duathlon world championships for female, 24 to 30. And 12th overall, actually, and a couple of top 15s in obviously this women's East here. Still learning the art of sprinting, she says. As I have a feeling that that's this team's strength, is they have a lot. That's why I was watching out for them specifically as well in the TTT, because I think there's a lot of horsepower here, but just maybe not that punch to win the points when you really need to in the sprints for the ZRL.
They should show up on Thursdays for WTRL's Team Time Trial Day. I have a feeling that this would be a team that could find another 1% because, man, are they strong. They look really good as well. So it's like an orchestra. You've got to do the work together. It's not just about being fit and being good at what you do. You need to do it together, right? And that is why the team time trial practices, and you can look at it however you want. Not every day on Thursdays at WTRL's team time trials are the teams racing with the mindset of we need to win today. A lot of times it's we need to get better at this discipline today is the mindset. And that's why I play guitar, for that matter. I don't every time I play, I hope I can get a little bit better. Well, every time you do a team time trial, you do get a little bit better. That rider up the front is from another team, I believe, is what we're seeing there. So that's not a concern for OTR. The Cinderellas here. It's just a team has jettisoned the rider.
Yep, that is going to be the Optimum rider Bouchon that was let go, I think, a little whiles after the main, as well as do have Mehis here. But let's go ahead and move forward here real quickly, Dave, and see where things are at the front of the race right now for Optimum. This is where they are at, and 4.6 watts per kilogram. I have a feeling perhaps, Dave, we may see some change-ups in the leadership of this race right now. It is an Optimum versus ATP at this point as Bronson takes over for ATP. You can see there 59 seconds back. I mean, it is neck and neck between these two teams. It's going to come right down to it between Optimum and ATP. Real nail biter between them.
All the other teams have to be concerned with what Optimum is bringing to the table here. Anne-Sophie Terrien, Emily Marsolet, Marie-Pierre Lefebvre, Michel Jean, Natalie Champagne, and then you mentioned it was Bouchon that had was just keeping on the pace in case her time is needed. But these are the four that are the vanguard out here right now: Jean, Champagne, Terrien, and Marsolet.
Now, as you watch Optimum, I'm going to call something out here, Dave, and this is only a critical eye to help a new team to Zwift, okay? That's all that this is, just as a shout out to this. I've done quite a few TTTs. If you didn't see Zwift's awesome little graphic today with it being ZRL TTT day, and I would be position number one mostly. I actually play all four positions that they showed. If you didn't see their Instagram post today, go ahead and check it out. I play all of them depending on where things are at with my kids on the day a lot of times, but definitely position one. And I would say what I've seen from Optimum all day long today is what I would expect from riders who maybe are just out there giving their all. I mean, these women have showed up to give their all, but might not have the reality of the TTT finesse, might have setups that might not be the top end esports setup as well. I have had riders that were out in the middle of nowhere, Canada, with bad internet connection, or maybe were connecting with an iPad or connecting with an Apple TV, and their avatar was not showing them exactly where maybe I was seeing them because there is a ping rate that you have to be concerned about. So there may be all kinds of things going on here, but look at how the avatars are constantly fighting each other for where they should be on the road. You see a lot of equalization in their watts per kilogram next to in the riders nearby list as well. When you don't see a lot of rest in the watts per kilogram for the riders, that usually means they're fighting each other for position constantly rather than gaining speed by sitting in a straight line behind the rider in front of them. So, they could do a little bit. I mean, they could do some maybe training a little bit with some pace partners, load up perhaps with sauce, and figure out what exactly is going on with their drafting and really get that down. Do some almost what I would say aim labs and finessing what the TTT is, because I do see their avatars fighting each other a lot. And even with that, though, Dave, it shows how strong they are with where they're at right now with these times.
Thanks for that, Nathan. And I would call that truly the best kind of constructive criticism, because these ladies are blowing my mind with how, can you imagine, the joke could be, can you imagine if they knew what they were doing? because I mean, this is an unbelievable effort from this team. And the devil is in the details, as they say. And as we've talked about through all these broadcasts for many years, this is really, really hard to figure out. So they are way ahead of the curve. And for a team that doesn't have team time trial experience, it's almost like, Nathan, you could say that this is a team, you're looking at a team that does have an incredible amount of experience that just isn't having their best day, because that's
100%.
how
I might be
fast they're
incorrect.
going.
They might have experience, might be just having a rough day. Not sure. You know what I
Well,
mean? Not absolutely
I
positive
like
on
your.
that or anything. But
I
looking
thought
at
that's
this,
more than fair. No, what you said was, and like you also, you get four different team members all boondocking somewhere outside in the outskirts of Edmonton, and internet can be a little bit sketchy. And if you're doing it on an iPad outside of your travel van, it's hard to get these details right.
did they
I'm
call you up,
impressed.
Dave? Is there somebody in a travel van right now in Canada freezing?
Outside
I
of
mean, that's like
yeah,
the best. That's the best cooling situation you could possibly get. Hopefully, the legs keep moving if they're not frozen at this point. And they are down to 4 at this point. They've had to let 2 go. It's going to be a tough day here to keep the time up against ATP, who I think have held on to one more rider. We'll see how that plays out. I am going to move forward though here. Here's Smith, Kolchinski, and the rest. I think have already finished. Dave, we're not going to get a finishing images on the reality of 2024, I don't believe, unless somehow we're able to grab them as Riot come around the corner. But we'll see what's gone in so far. It does look like it's been close all the way to this moment, Dave. A 3-second difference. I was expecting perhaps one of these two teams to pull away a little bit, but no, this is coming right to the line.
I was actually kind of, in a way, thinking the opposite about how hard it is to make back time in the last third of this course. Once Virginia Blue Ridge established, and it's crazy how it's only a couple of seconds. If you look back through splits here, Nathan, they never really have more than a handful of seconds as an advantage, but they've kept that. This is going to go right to the line, but it is so hard to get back any time at all. They've still got the whole squad together. This is Riot coming in hot. As Nathan said, Virginia Blue Ridge has finished. We don't know what that time is yet. It's incredible to see that Riot's got the full team together as they are galloping to the finish line now. It could be 1 second. It could be a tie. This is incredible. What a way. First team time trial of the season is done and dusted for the Riot team as they come across the line en masse.
Nicely done to them. Very nicely done as they come across the line. We'll see if they're able to hold on for the results. We'll get those coming in momentarily here as we do get times finishing up here. Jean Therin, Marsoles, and Champagne are going to be the next, and they are gapping themselves from ATP. Amazing effort, actually, from them. Very impressive for this Optimum team, only having 4 riders left. ATP on the chase. Rachel Lieberman with 5 riders here, but they're going to be able to see this and this little bump over the top. They may have a little extra something in the legs as they take this little riser out of Ocean Boulevard. This can be seconds right here gained, Dave, depending on how hard they go.
Yeah, what an incredible ride. This is really trying to go from 4th to 3rd, because I think that the Canadian women are in good shape here. This is not individually, collectively, rookies of the year, this team. Tremendous job. They are finding out how deep you can dig right now. I'm sure as they're out there putting up a huge amount of steam in the Arctic night, the polar bears are saying, wow, these are some fit athletes now. They're flying to the finish line. This time's going to be sub 40 minutes out here on a very challenging, a world championship caliber course. They go full gas now, throttle all the way open. They're going to bury this one. Great ride today. That could be good for the bronze medal.
And if it is, what an amazing run to the line there for them. Here's ATP. Lieberman trying to lead them out. Morland Branson. Florzone is there as well. They're being chased by none other than Aeonian that are about 7 seconds off the time. What we're seeing here right now from the live shots in the riders nearby list. But what can they pull off? ATP trying to challenge Optimum to the line. This might be a conversation we start having for the rest of this round in this season here, Dave. ATP versus Optimum is the conversation, though, as they ramp it up right into the final 100 meters.
Yeah, this is where you are really starting to watch the tunnel vision set in. A couple 100 meters left, and when you're in an epic battle royale like ATP, here comes the Serge Moran having quite a ride out here today, and I think she's going to bring them home. That is a command performance out here by Ul Moran here today. Foot, Lieberman, Bronson, Flotazone all coming through. This is going to be ATP flying underneath our Finnish gantry. Boy, it's going to be close, Nathan. We'll have to go in a few minutes here. We'll have a chance to review all of our teams' finish times in the second race of the season. But if any of these teams making the top 5 out here today, they sure earned it, as it looks like Nathan has found Aeonian in full flight.
Yeah, Mountain League Cutter leading them out again. Nelson there right on her wheel, holding a steady 39 kilometers per hour. We did see it's always been just sub 40 so far. We've seen that a lot, right? Right around that sub 40 minutes. And we'll see if they can challenge the time that we just saw come through for ATP. That we're closing in just a little bit here, Dave, but it's going to come right down to the final seconds as they had about 7 seconds difference to make up. But look at this run. Angela Roberts, she always has a great kick, actually. She's a lot of times when it comes to the sprints, that's what keeps Aeonian in the conversation, is going to be the likes of Roberts. And now she makes her way to the front, and she's always got this 1 minute or so. Nelson right on her wheel as well, coming on through at 7.1 watts per kilogram, 189 beats per minute right now from Roberts, 190 here from Nelson, but they cannot drop off Keller. Keller's got to come on through. It's the fourth rider across the line.
What a great sign from this team that they can come up and over the top of each other here, lifting as they come across the line. And that was a solid ride from Aeonian tonight. There's not a weak link in this group. It's really an incredible.
Looking for. Go ahead, Dave. Go ahead, Dave. Sorry about that.
Yeah, sorry there, Nathan. So we're looking now, going back to pick up Abskate Finesse, presented by Wolf, mostly Canadian, some American is in the mix here as well. You made a really good point, though. I think that 40-minute threshold, as we get a chance to look at the team, and this is another team that's brought a lot of positive energy to ZRL, presented by WTRL. Riders like Carly Zanata, Angela Quick, Danielle Baker, Catherine Monks, Tess Amer on that Abskate Finesse team. I'm missing Emily there.
Yeah, we do got Emily, as well as Whitney Post, I think, is also
and
maybe. I wonder if Whitney perhaps didn't make the start line perhaps tonight. We'll have to double check and see if we do have.
I love Whitney's picture there.
Yeah,
that's the Whitney I know and love.
Yeah, exactly. She's one of the best. I have a feeling perhaps out lifting tonight instead, or maybe just buying donuts.
Maybe they're,
that might be what they're
cleaning up a mudslide. They're in Southern California. That's getting an insane amount of rain. I think it's just stopping for them right now.
So where is Abskate Finesse is going to be the question here at this point when it comes to the overalls. But I really appreciate them providing the lineups here. They're always a really fun team and one of the most committed teams when it does come to the Zwift Racing League. As far as their splits go out here today, AF here, they are fairly good when it does come to the team time trial, sitting in a solid 7th place right now, 28:04 as they come to the line, chasing down what's left of the Aeonians and some of the other teams out here today as they make their way to the line.
Yeah, Abskate Finesse, another team that has a unique culture and a good brand identity. Wolf Provisions, the sponsor of that team, a company up in Canada, does really cool stuff with clothing and kind of a little hard to describe, but like it really fits the time and place there. Modern Canadian coolness, that's for sure. As we take a look at they're just about to come underneath the arch here.
Behind them will be the Cole Wonder Women, who will also be coming in just a moment here, followed up by the Royal City East team. So that's who we've got out here today for the top 9. Where things stood as we came in, just as a reminder to everybody before we get into the results, this is where things, we do have a little bit of an update here. Oof. The boards were auto-updating. I don't want to cause any surprises, so we'll actually go directly to the results board rather than the league table so that we get that instead. So go ahead, Dave. Why don't you take us through what's happening so far? This might get updated, though. We're waiting for a couple of things here. I'm going to push couple of buttons and make sure that we get this at the latest
While you're
reload.
While you're doing that, Nathan, I was going to say Lacole deserves a lot of credit for supporting women's cycling as well. We take a lot of pride at Zwift for the efforts being made there. And I've noticed that Lacole seems to be all over women's racing with different teams, and like Virginia Blue Ridge 2024. I was going to say, if you can get under 39 minutes today, that's insane. I have to think Kristen Kulczynski's feeling pretty good about life with her 2024 team right now as they're tucking into their what should be a victory pizza at this point, going 2 for 2 is Virginia Blue Ridge 2024 with a 38.54. They turned it on in the finale there as they opened it up to 22 seconds over Riot. Taking a strong second today is Riot, the silver standard. So here is something amazing, folks. 4.36 watts per kilogram. Velo Optimum, the Canadian ladies, actually made more power as a unit than the winning team, Virginia Blue Ridge. So, just some food for thought out there. They finished 101, so you can really
and they
let's
dropped
look at
Dave,
it.
and they dropped the rider off.
Right.
At least, maybe two. So, I mean, this is watch out for Optimum. If they can get their ducks in order, they need to show up to some Thursday TTTs, watch some videos, Dave, because watch out for Velum Optimum. That to see 4.36 there, they're a team that can challenge. You can gain that kind of time. You really can if you get it together.
They've got more available delta than any other team in the world right now in team time trialing. I mean, they can get so much better that they can be competing with. If they're making the power, they just need to learn the craft. So good on you, ladies. ATP Racing Stingers, they only finished 6 seconds behind that. So that's also incredible, Nathan. When you look at the difference in power output, but the time basically over that 29K, only 6 seconds difference for ATP Racing Stingers. Very efficient today, as we're OTR on the Rivet Cinderellas in 5th. So this is, as it stands now, Aeonian finishing in 6th. Shows you how competitive this league is. They're only 1 second behind OTR there, with AF Solstix finishing in 7th. I am so happy, Nathan, that we ended up covering this group of women. It's going to be a fun season as we wrap up race number 2 of 6 here in season 3 of 2022-2023.
Yeah, and we do have a couple of more teams coming in to the finish line here. We will maybe get an update on them in just a moment here. Speaking of, though, what's happening for next week, as we look forward to next week, we'll get an idea of the league results here in just a second as well. Dave, as Lacole women are just finishing up, it looks like they were only a little ways behind. We'll come back to that results board in just a second here, Dave. But next week, we are out on Innsbruck, on the Innsbruck ring for 4 laps. We've got the new leg snapper KOM. That's a new feature, actually, that we haven't seen very much, Dave, because that's an added KOM to the world of Innsbruck. That isn't something that's been in the Zwift Racing League a whole lot. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that changes things up. Because that KOM hasn't been there, using the Innsbruck ring hasn't really been that pop, because essentially you just have one sprint, you have the lap banner, and that's about it. But now that you have these 3 points out on that course, it's one of the best short circuit road races, I would say. I would call it a crit because it's so long of a course, but it's like a short circuit road race.
Yeah, that's going to be really, really exciting. Only the strong are going to survive that one too. 4 times up the leg snapper with that much going on. Should be great.
I'm a little jealous that I said I'm not racing this year, this season.
Right up your alley.
This sounds like a lot of fun. I'm gonna have to. This is a shout out as well, and I'll talk about this on the wrap. There are some organizations out there that do what little appetizers, as Electric Spirit Co. call theirs, or little previews of the ZRL race that's coming up the next week. Electric Spirit Co. does one on Saturday mornings. For me, it's Saturday mornings here in America's Central Time Zone. But go ahead and check out. Make sure to look across the entirety of the Zwift events, because there are places that you can find warm-up races, a little appetizers of what is to come at you. So I might check that out on Saturday, actually, Dave, because that looks like a really fun 4 laps of racing, actually, out on the Innsbruck ring. One of my absolute favorites. Now, Dave, for the results, real quickly here, Lacole Wonder Women did come in at a 2:28 behind the winning time for an 8th place. Let's go ahead and see where the results do sit, though, for the league after our race number 2.
All right. Well, it's actually interesting when you look at it, Nathan. The first 4 teams have had the same result for the first 2 races. As we can see, we're evenly descending 2 points at a time. So perfect. 2 wins for Virginia Blue Ridge 2024. 2 seconds now for Riot. 2 thirds for Velo Optimum, and 2 fourths for ATP Racing Stingers. That's makes the math easy, doesn't it? Then you got Aeonian and On the Rivet are tied right now at 31. They both have a 5th and a 6th out here. Then AF, Absque Finesse in 7th, LaCole 8th, and Royal City sitting in 9th after 2 of 6 races here.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see that battle in 5th and 6th, because OTR, the Cinderellas, they came on hot tonight here to finish up right behind the ATP Racing Stingers and out, raced the Aeonian Dynamis. So that's that 4th, 5th, and 6th, really something to watch. I'm going to be interested to see if Velo Optimum can start being in that conversation between 1st and 2nd, though, with Virginia Blue Ridge 2024 and Riot there. And then also the reality is the Dynamis and ATP, maybe the first 2 races, just not their day, as well as OTR, and they may be able to upset that podium in the coming races. So race number 3, Innsbruck Ring, it'll be interesting how that's going to play out. Well, Dave, it's been a great broadcast. I'm absolutely loving covering the Americas East. Everybody, thanks a lot for tuning in for this. We will be back here on Zwift Community Live for the wrap. Coming up, we've got a great guest, actually. It's going to be maybe a little bit of a comedy session, a little bit, as well as it's going to be somebody coming in from the community that's had a lot of fun over on the Facebook group. So be on the watch out for that. Myself and Anna Russell, who did just race actually for Riot just a moment ago, here in this race. We'll be on the wrap on Thursday. And then we'll be back for race number 3 next week here on that Innsbruck Ring. Thanks a lot for everybody for tuning in. We've been live on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Make sure to follow up on all of those places, as it does help out a lot. And from Dave and myself, we'll see you also. We've got Zwift Grand Prix on Friday for the women. Some of these women are going to be hanging out on there for the team elimination. So we'll see you for that as well. Thanks, everybody, for watching. And as always, ride on.